to another episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate.
And on this episode, we're going to kind of revisit a topic we've talked about before, but we're going to talk about how we deal with rude people that are making fun of us, that kind of situation. Clearly, this topic comes from Caitlin because she has a story to tell.
It's true.
Be prepared for the topic. But before we get going, what's new? What's the haps besides apparently having an amazing story to come up with?
Yeah, lots new. I didn't do much this weekend, but I had a couple of shows last week, I think. Yeah, last Monday was at Rustico and it was awesome. Had a great show. One of my best shows that I've ever done. Did a show in Moncton. What else is going on? Oh, sang at the Parkland in the Valley last weekend as well. And that was really nice and really fun. It's always nice to sing, and it's nice to sing with the group Northern Voice that I sing with, and it was really nice to see people enjoy us.
You sing other than karaoke? What?
Yeah, I sing in an a cappella group.
Karaoke is the only time I know that you sing.
Well, now you know more. What have you been up to?
It's not like we're 80 episodes in now, you know.
I've mentioned this before. Just because you don't listen doesn't mean that.
Right. Well, I don't pay attention when you talk, so it's
fair.
What have I been up to? I went to the gym twice this past week.
Awesome.
Yeah. And this past weekend I helped my dad install a new window, so that was fun. Always fun to put a new window in. Yeah. Listen, it's gonna be my house that I inherit, so I'm happy to have a new window in my new house.
What do your sisters have to say about that?
That is fine. It's my house.
So the other thing I did this week is I started taking metformin, which is a drug for the old diabetes that I've recently been diagnosed with, and so far so good, except it does have some adverse effects on the old stomach.
Yeah. So you officially are diagnosed now? Is that doctor preventative kind of?
I mean, they usually give you drugs because they're diagnosing you, I think. So
usually, I mean, sometimes they do it to be preventative of.
She said it in a very polite way.
Okay.
So I could probably walk away with it being unclear, but I mean, comparatively to other people I know who struggle with this, my sugars on my A1C, for those of you who don't know, that's what measures your sugars over a 3-month period. It was a 6.9.
That's not too bad.
Which is not the worst, but
it's a little high.
It's high, and better to take care of it and nip it in the bud, as they say.
Yeah, I think a 3 is what you're supposed to be.
Yeah, between 3 and 4, I think.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yes.
So 6.9, but I know that I have other friends that struggle with it when their doctor is happy when they're at a 6 or a 7 because they've shot up as high as 27 or something.
Yeah, my wife is usually she was before she started doing Ozempic and stuff. She was running at 12s and stuff.
Yeah.
And she knows when she's crashing, when she's coming up.
Yeah, this is all very new to me because it's not been an issue. And I feel like if I take care of it and make these lifestyle changes that I've been working on, it should help. And
yeah,
I'm feeling as nervous as I was about it all, because we had that episode a few episodes ago about what makes us scared and what makes us nervous and not wanting to go to the doctor, not wanting to deal with stuff. And this is a bit of a Isaiah, this is your life kind of thing, because it feels really good to have been there and been through the steps. And it's another situation where it was my worst. The thing I was scared about did happen, but it's all okay.
Yes. I
feel better now that I'm looking after myself.
Heck yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you'll figure metformin's not bad. It's at least you're not having to inject yourself every day. It's just pop a pill, add it to the mixture. Add it to the mixture.
I'm starting to feel like my grandmother who took handfuls of pills at every meal. I'm up to 4 in the morning and 1 at night.
Just add it to the mixture.
And if I pop an Advil at the same time, I'm like, oh. Now here's a question. Are you, when you're popping pills, I mean, the ones that you're being prescribed, do you take the whole handful at once with a glass of water, or you take one at a time?
It depends on how big they are. If they're Tylenol size, and by Tylenol size, I mean I don't know, what, an inch? I don't know.
That's the most giant Tylenol I've ever seen. He held it up like he was holding up a fish that he caught.
As long as it's not like huge, I can take multiples. But if it's a bigger one,
Yeah.
like the ones that Andrea takes, the Sinjardi, they're pretty big. I would only be able to do like one at a time.
Okay. I take the whole handful at once. The metformin is not small, but the rest of them are pretty small.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the size of my pills.
I mean,
I don't know. I went down this road. I was just more curious about
it's a conversation.
if I was normal.
the people want to know. But you have a story.
I do have a story.
You have not told me a story.
No,
you said
I saved it.
You had a whole thing. You wouldn't even tell us when we were having our general conversation out there in the living room before we jump into record.
It's true. So, I wanted to save it for the live reaction of Isaiah.
I need to know. I need to know what's going on.
And this is, you'll actually listen to me for once? Or?
We'll see.
So here's what happened. The day I was actually prescribed the metformin and officially named quote unquote a diabetic or whatever was a Wednesday. And so I went and I hosted trivia and afterwards hung out with a friend and got home at about 10 to 11. And that is only relevant because I have a neighbor who's been a new neighbor who's in his 60s, I believe. And he hangs out in our back parking lot in his car every night, drinking beer.
Okay.
And listens to music or whatever. And he's got a big, deep, booming voice, and he's a friendly enough guy. But I'll have to admit, I don't love getting home and having to interact with somebody when I need to run up to go to the bathroom or something like that. Because, you're getting home after a long day and you don't necessarily want to have a whole thing. But, he had done nothing wrong up to this point. So this day I was kind of trepidatious because there were no parking spots on the street. So I pulled into my back lot, parked, and he was on the phone, and I was like, phew, he's on the phone. And then I hear him say, oh, just 1 second. I have to, my neighbor just got home. So he's, oh, how are you doing, missus? And I wave, and that was fine. And then I hear him get back on the phone. He says, yeah, that's my neighbor, and she lives upstairs. And she's what you call a woman of animal proportions.
Okay.
So I was my initial reaction was, did he really just say that? And I believe the actual idiom goes, a person of mammoth proportions, but which is, a little bit more descriptive in what he meant, but the implication was what it was.
Yeah.
And so in the initial reaction, I could feel the warmth rise through my body and the tears on their way. So I looked back to make sure that he knew that I heard him, but he meant for me to hear it because he could have just waited till I was inside the door, but I was still right there, and we're 15 feet apart or something. And I went in and I bawled and bawled and bawled and bawled and bawled.
Yeah. No, that seems like a reasonable reaction to something like that. I don't typically cry, but I would definitely be like, I'm just going to bed and like just lay in bed and not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was beyond devastated. And it was, like everything, there were a combination of factors for me. I was feeling kind of down about the beatus and feeling kind of down about having to take a new pill, and then just feeling like, all the things that I talk about and worry about all the time about how I feel about myself all compound with this fella.
Yeah, with the new random person.
Just and it was in my home.
Right. Yeah, in the area that's supposed to be your safe space.
Yeah. And just like if I'm not protected here, where am I protected?
Right.
And so here's the topic of discussion. I went home, was very upset, and was very upset the entire next day. I told a couple of friends at work, and I couldn't get through the story without crying again. So I was really not doing great.
Yeah.
In saying that, in that situation, there are a number of things that popped in my head to do. And so I thought it would be fun to discuss, like, what would, Isaiah, what would you have done in those preceding days? Would you to me, there's a few options. There's more than one option, but one of them is to do nothing.
I think I would have stewed. I think I would have stewed. I would have been very upset about it. I probably would have tried to avoid that person for a very long time. Probably still to this day, probably try to avoid seeing that person. And that's about all I would do. I probably would be a little upset for a while. I probably would be just going to bed for a couple days, kind of semi-depression mode for sure.
No, I was really upset. I kept going on with my life, but it took the wind out of my sails.
Yeah.
It really did. And that was my initial reaction, is to like avoid. So this is a person that sits in my back parking lot every night. So he becomes very hard to avoid. Like, I'd get anxious driving up and think, oh my gosh, there's no street parking available. I have to use my parking spot. Like, I should be leaving the street spots available for other people who don't have parking spots. Like,
yeah.
And I know this, but I was like, I can't face him right now, and was really not doing well. And I told a number of people the story to try to get perspectives. And the next reaction that I had was full blown anger. Like, how do I punish him? And there are friends, you know, like you tell your close friends and family this kind of story. I think my mom's reaction, I texted it all to her the next day, and she said, "A bastard." I was like, thanks, Mom.
Yeah, I mean, anger also is a place I would might go. I don't think I would, though. I would just spiral into depression. That would be my... Well,
I thought of like vengeful things that could be done, and other people helped feed this as well. And one of them was, some people overreacted. They're like, "Can you call the police? He's harassing you." And I was like, the police don't have time for that. They're busy.
They're pretty busy.
There's lots going on. They're busy. So no, I'm not going to call the police because he made me feel bad about myself. And then other people like, "You should spit on his car." And I was like, then I'm the bad person.
Then you're the bad person, yeah.
And other people like, "You should break his window." Yeah. And I've had
don't do that.
I was like, no, sorry.
Yeah, don't do that one.
No,
it's expensive.
Yeah, no, and I'd be easily caught.
Yes, that too.
And it still doesn't solve anything. It just further escalates an existing war.
Right.
Not war, but like,
yeah, a potential feud.
No, another more legitimate thing that somebody said, I should call the police and report him for his drinking while in a vehicle, because that is 100% illegal.
Yes.
100% illegal, because you're in care and control of the vehicle, and he has the key in there because he's listening to the radio and stuff. And
that's very spiteful.
It is a very spiteful. And you know what? It's not me. That one I really thought about, though, because I know it's illegal, and it would be a different thing if he was like sitting on the street and doing it, and he just randomly got caught. And I was, but it is intentional. To get into the back parking lot, you have to go like through this garage thing to go outside again. Like, you're only there if it's on purpose.
It's clearly someone in the building that's reporting him at that point. Right.
It's not an accident. Yeah, it couldn't be anyone else. And again, that's another thing. It wouldn't be hard to turn the finger around and point it at me.
Yeah.
And again, don't want to end up in that situation. And I don't want to deviate from who I am as a person, which I like to think I'm pretty reasonable.
Slashes tires.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I'm the wrong one. And I don't, that's not a place I want to live. But in the meantime, I still am feeling that anxiousness and anxiety. That's the same word twice, about going home. Yeah. And that's not right to feel that way. And I thought, like, if I can get through the week and then I stop feeling that way, then I'll just let it go.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. Like, I was like, my heart, every time I turn out my street, my heart would start to race.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard one, because it is, to me, it is one of those situations where there's not really much you can do. I mean, if you're really want to do it, you can confront him and be like, "Hey, you upset me with that." But at the end of the day, is that really gonna change anything?
Well, it's funny you say that, Isaiah.
Are you gonna do that? Is this your plan? Did you do that?
I did that.
Oh my God.
So to me, this was, I like to pride myself on being good at dealing with people.
I would just avoid him forever.
And that was my initial intent, but it wasn't working, because I was like not doing well. Like, yeah. And it wasn't, and I needed more than anything, I needed to take the power back.
Yeah. Yeah. My brain would have forgot about it eventually, like within another week's time. I would have been like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that happened."
I would never forget that, because I had a similar instance with a person. This one's a little closer to home, so I'm not going to say any context around it, but I had a similar instance a number of years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I still think about it every time I see that person. And I see that person frequently.
Well, yeah, I would have forgot it happened after a while.
Well, stuff like that for me, it sits and it stays with me forever. I remember when the girl when I was 5 called me fatso. Like, I don't stew on that one anymore. Like, we were both 5. But I never forget when somebody is mean to me like that.
I tend to forget after a little while.
It's a blessing.
So I forget a lot of things, though. It's not quite. It's a blessing to forget that kind of thing. It's not a blessing to forget other things.
That's true.
Like birthdays. I am terrible at remember birthdays.
I don't remember yours right now. I should. It just happened July 14th.
Oh no, 7th.
Okay,
close.
I was within a week.
So
name the month of my birthday.
I don't know.
Okay, so you're like, no,
it's in a year.
The 7th. Like I was so far away. July 14th is a pretty good guess.
I just said that I forget about things.
I know, but I'm just saying that I'm a better friend than you.
So you confronted the guy.
So here's what happened. It was about a week later. It was the Thursday after the Wednesday. No, it was less than a week. It was Tuesday. It does not matter. I don't know. I'm getting bogged down in these details.
So it happened like a week later or 2 weeks later?
1 week.
1 week. Okay.
1 week. Because this happened the Wednesday after we recorded. And less than a week later, the opportunity presented itself. And I had consulted with a number of people because I was like, what would you do? I've asked pretty much anyone that I had a reasonable conversation with. I'd said, what would you do in this situation? And I kind of knew what I should do, but there were a handful of people that went with the direct approach and said, this is what I would do. And I wouldn't scream and yell. Actually, one of the spicier ways that somebody suggested I do it is confront him while he was with his wife. To like make sure she knew. And I thought it was funny. And like, if I was a more spiteful person, it would have been really effective. So I confront him.
Yeah.
And he's in his car one night, and CBC had been playing this interview with the author of Life of Pi. Have you ever read Life of Pi?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he was doing like a really good interview, and I was listening to it. And this is only relevant because the guy was like, oh, hello, how are you? I was like, fine, how are you? And he said, oh, dude, they just had Jan Martel, the author of Life of Pi, on CBC. I was like, yeah, I know, I was just listening. And he's like, oh, you're a CBC girl? And I was like, oh, yeah, I love this. I love the national broadcaster. Like
we were on CBC.
Yeah. I've been on the CBC. And I said, no, yeah, I was just on. And I said, actually, I really need to talk to you. And I said, look, he's like, I need to tell you that about a week ago, you're on the phone with your friend and you said something about me to your friend that really hurt my feelings. He said, oh, I did. I'm so sorry. I never want to hurt anyone. And I said, he said, what did I say? And I said, repeated the comment of, he said, oh, she's a woman of animal proportions. He goes, oh yeah, I remember saying that, but I don't know what the context was. I said, no. He said, and you know, my wife's as big as you. I said, well, that's even less reason. That means even more reason that you should not say things like that. I said, that was incredibly hurtful. I cried. I ruined the rest of my week. And I just wanted to let you know that that was really unacceptable. And please never say anything like that about me or to me again. And he said, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And he's like, you know, my wife's got a heart of gold and she's a big girl. It's just to hold her big heart. And I'm sure you're like that too. And he said, I just meant that you had a big personality. And I said, you didn't, but that's okay. We're going to move forward. Yeah. Please never say anything like that again. And then I went in. And does that change him? Of course not. To your point, did that have an effect on him other than him feeling slightly uncomfortable in his yard? Sound familiar? But what that did for me is I'm not afraid to go into my house anymore.
There you go. Nice. I would not have done that. I would have, again, probably stewed for 2 weeks.
And forgotten.
Something else would have happened and I would have forgotten.
That's hilarious.
Good for you. Good for you.
I felt good about the culmination of that. Like I said, I don't think I had a grave impact on his life, although he didn't talk to me the next time I saw him. I'm not sad.
That's fine. So how are you feeling now? It's been a couple days.
I feel overall good. Like I feel like that I'm not afraid to see him because I've protected myself, confronted the thing, addressed the elephant in the room. The elephant was not me. See, it's okay when I make the jokes, okay? And maybe it's not. We can talk about that too. But like, it feels okay for me to make the jokes. I'm wearing gray today. And I'm not afraid to go home, and I shouldn't be afraid to go home. No. Nobody should be afraid to go home. I already lived like that once in a situation that I helped create. I'm not living like that in a situation I didn't create.
Right. You should never. Your home should be your safe space.
Yeah. And it is again.
Nice.
Yeah, that's nice. My story.
That's your story. That's awesome. That is awesome and terrible at the same time.
Yeah, it sucks. You know, it goes back to conversations we've had in the past. If you feel like you need to say anything about somebody's size, generally big, small, short, tall, whatever, don't.
Right. And
you don't know what somebody's sensitive about.
Oh, 100%. And sometimes you have to think about, like, what does that say about you when you think you have to say something about that?
Yeah.
Because we know.
His friend on the phone didn't give a shit that his neighbor's fat.
No, not at all.
Like, he's like, okay. That guy moved on with his life.
Yeah, it was over.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, why do you need to say something like that? Why do you even have to comment like that? You can just say that was my neighbor.
Yeah. Oh, or nothing. You could have just continued on with your conversation and pretend I wasn't walking into my house right then.
Sure.
You didn't have to stop me at all.
I mean, I'm one of those people that probably would have said, "Hey, what's going on?" I would have stopped the conversation. But I would never have said the other.
I'm friendly. Like I would have waved and said hello or whatever. But if the person was on their way in, I wouldn't like hold them up.
Oh, I'm a terrible person like that, though.
You're friendly though, and people like generally want to talk to you too.
Nice. People don't want to talk to me. Oh dear. No, that was interesting. That's a good story. I thank you for not telling before.
Yeah, I'm glad to have your like jerk reaction to it. Not jerk reaction. His was the jerk reaction.
And my jerk reaction as well.
Yeah. No. I think your initial response was exactly what my initial response was. Like, say nothing, do nothing, put my head down, don't address it.
Yep.
But it doesn't make that the right reaction. Well, any reaction is a good reaction. It is your reaction.
It's probably not the healthy reaction though.
Yeah, well, it's healthier than like calling the police.
Yeah, maybe.
Or spitting in his car.
Spitting. I like the spitting option. That sounds like a good option to me. I don't think I could do it, but that sounds like a great option.
I could never do it. And plus, anytime I've ever done anything wrong in my life, I've gotten caught. Like every time, like something that one person could do, 20 people could do 1,000 times, I will get caught.
That's why you're so straight edge.
That is why I'm a straight edge, because I can't.
I'm a rebel without a cause.
That's like my Uncle James.
Okay. And on that note, I think that's time to wrap it up. Where can people find you on the internet?
I've got Caitlin on TikTok, the Caitlin Dean on X, Caitlin Dean on Facebook, Kate D on Instagram, and we're at Kate and Isaiah Living Large on Facebook.
And I am at Maritime Brews on all of the social medias. We still have the Buy Me a Coffee going on for that new camera. As well, you can check us out on all of the places for audio, Spotify, all those if you're not listening on those. Or if you want to come and check out the video, hop on over to YouTube. And if you are listening on YouTube, if you can like, share, subscribe, comment, all the words that I'm supposed to say for that algorithm. And yeah, comment. But we can't wait to see you next week. But until then, bye.